Thing. Okay, the meeting is now being recorded, so I'll now take the sederunt for this meeting of the Clydesdale Area Committee on the 1st of May 2024. Do we have Councillor Allison present? No. I can see that we have Councillor Barker, we have Councillor Corbett, we have Councillor Gowland, we have Councillor Hamilton. I have apologies from Councillor Horsham. We have Councillor Lambie. I have apologies from Councillor Lockhart. We have Councillor Logan, Councillor Mars, Councillor McCallan and Councillor Shearer. We also have a number of, sorry, Councillor McClyman, I'm not sure if I said you or not. We also have a number of officers present today. I'll hand back to yourself, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. So item 1 is the declarations of interest. I believe we have quite a few already been notified to you. Carol, do you want to go through them? Thanks.
Thank you. So we have declaration interest from yourself, Chair, for agenda item 7, and it is the application by 4th and District Development Trust and also Clydesdale Community Initiatives. Councillor Mars has a declaration of interest again on item 7 for 4th and District Development Trust, Healthy Valleys and Clydesdale Community Initiatives. Councillor Mars also has declaration of interest on agenda item number 8 for the application by Kirkfield Bank Home and Sporting Club and Lanarkin District U3A. Does anyone else have any further declarations of interest? No, that's all, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. So in number 2 is the minutes of the previous meeting, pages 3 to 8. I will agree those.
That's seconded, thanks.
Thank you. And number 3 is an Education Scotland report for Blackmount Primary School, Errickle, Biggar, pages 9 to 14. So I would invite Anne Jesimar, lead officer, and Carol Pennock, head teacher, to speak to the report. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, councillors. My name's Anne Jesimar, and I'm the link officer for Blackmount Primary School, and I'm pleased to be here this afternoon with the head teacher, Carol Pennock. The purpose of this report is to advise on the outcome of the inspection of Blackmount Primary School by Education Scotland inspectors. A wee bit of the background demographics. Blackmount Primary was established in 2019 and it's situated in the Elstrickle area of Biggar, South Lanarkshire. It serves the rural communities of Elstrickle, Walston, Dunsire, Dolphinton, Candy Mill and outlying farms and homes in the surrounding areas. At the time of the inspection, the school roll was 46 children, split across 2 multi-stage classes. In early December 2023, Blackmount Primary School was the focus of a short model inspection by His Majesty's inspectors, and paragraph 4.1 of the committee report takes us through the areas of the school's work that were evaluated using Scottish Education's National Quality Framework, How Good is Our School, the 4th edition. Those areas were learning, teaching and assessment and raising attainment and achievement. During their 3 days in the school, inspectors observed class lessons, they spoke with groups of pupils and staff and met with parents and members of the community. The inspection report for Blackmount Primary School was published on the 6th of February 2024. Inspectors evaluated the school's learning, teaching and assessment provision as very good, and their outcomes on raising attainment and achievement also very good. Paragraph 4.2 highlights the key strengths of the school as noted in the report, and in summary these are confident, articulate, enthusiastic children who are supportive and respectful and work well as a team. The very effective leadership of the head teacher, which is resulting in consistently high quality learning experiences that match very well to children's abilities and interests. And in turn, this is resulting in children's very good progress in learning and those consistently high levels of attainment across the school. And the close partnership working between staff and families. These strong relationships support all children very well to engage positively with the life of the school. Paragraph 4.3 references one area for improvement, which has already been included in the school's improvement planning. It's not something new, but an endorsement from inspectors to continue to provide children with opportunities to apply their literacy and numeracy skills across all other areas of their learning, and that the school's planned development of outdoor learning should support this. As outlined in paragraph 4.4, inspectors are confident that Blackmount has the capacity to continue to improve and will therefore make no return visits in connection with this report. I'm now going to hand over to Carol, who will share a few of her highlights from the report.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you some of the positives that came from our recent HMI inspection. As a school community, we are absolutely delighted that the values and hard work of our children, staff, parents and community have been acknowledged. Firstly, the inspection report recognises that our pupils are confident individuals who are enthusiastic about learning, and this makes me particularly proud. The inspection report also recognises the hard work of school staff in fostering positive relationships with parents as the benefit this has on pupil learning is well documented. The report clearly highlights the many positive elements that we're seeing across the school in our core business of teaching and learning. All staff at Blackmount strongly believe that children need to feel positive about themselves in order for optimum learning to take place. And the report clearly highlights that respectful and nurturing relationships are central to all we do at Blackmount, and HMI saw this in abundance. Whilst in a small school, it is easy for me to have a good understanding of each child's strengths and next steps. However, for class teachers who have 20 or more pupils in their class, which is similar to those in bigger schools, and HMI acknowledges that all teachers have a very good understanding of the needs of all the children in front of them, and that this leads to the children receiving high quality learning experiences which are matched very well to their abilities. And as a result, the children in Blackmount are happy and motivated in school and very keen to learn. In Blackmount, we have high standards and are committed to ensuring that our children develop important skills for learning, life and work and achieve the best attainment in literacy and numeracy. We pride ourselves in the high standards of attainment, and HMI agreed with us that children in Blackmount are making very good progress in literacy and numeracy, and that almost all the children who receive targeted support make very good progress against their individual targets, and we were reassured that HMI agreed with us. Blackmount Primary has a special place in the heart of our community, and HMI said they could feel, see and hear this during their visit. They recognised our commitment to promoting a sense of belonging for all children and their families, both in the children's learning and through the life and work of the school and in the community, and acknowledging that we all have our part to play. The old adage, it takes a village to raise a child, comes to mind. By valuing, promoting and continually strengthening homeschool community relationships, we have fostered a vibrant school community culture. Together, we have a deep understanding of what every child needs to be successful. And as a result, children's attainment and achievement are continually improving, and for this we are extremely proud. And finally, in inspection grade as very good, HMI identified practice worth sharing across Scotland. And for us, this is our digital approaches. We are delighted to be able to share our approaches and how digital skills support not only children's learning, but also importantly their independence, which is a key skill particularly for our children who are learning in multi-composite classes. We are in the process of putting together a case study which will be shared on the education site in due course. Our inspection visit was a very positive experience and one which has resulted in a great confidence boost for everyone associated with Blackmount. We will continue to work on the recommendations from the visit and ensure that our wee school continues to flourish.
Thank you. Anne, do you want to come back in?
Yeah, just to say thank you to Carol. It's such a positive HMI report and we're all very pleased in Education Resources. And this includes our Executive Director who is absolutely delighted.
Thank you. Thanks to yourself, Anne and Carol, for your report. Do any members have any questions or comments they wish to make? Ralph? Councillor Barker?
Thank you, Chair. With such a good report, there's really not too much to ask about that. But with basically a new school, you probably don't think of it as a new school. I mean, it's a few years on, but mainly on a new location. Is it working well from a location point of view?
The location in Eldrickle has enabled us to be able to bring our community into the school much more than we ever were able to in Walston. In the old school, we have the space, indoor and outdoor of the school, to be able to do that, and that's something that we're very proud of as well.
Thank you, Carol. I don't see any further hands, so I wouldn't expect anything else from Carol as a head teacher, because she's a head teacher in my ward in Auchengree Primary School. I know how well she runs that as well, and I have the delight of it coming up at Christmas and various other events. I think we do have a hand. We have Councillor Lindsay Hamilton. Thanks.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to say well done. Like, 2 very goods is absolutely excellent, and it's really a really positive report to read, especially since you said you've changed location and stuff like that. So it's brilliant to see our schools doing fantastically like that, and just to say well done for all your hard work again. And it's really good to see the coming to area committee and getting so as the local members can see the variety of schools and stuff that we've got in the area. So, but thanks very much and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lindsay. And just for your information, in case you don't know, Lindsay is the Chair of Education. So that's coming from a very high, from the Chair. So I'd like to thank you both for your presentation, and you're welcome to leave now. Thank you very much. Thanks. And we'll move on to item 4, which is the Education Resources Participatory Budgeting, pages 15 to 18. I'd like to invite Maureen Farr, Lead Officer, and Farah Crooks, Head Teacher at Lanark Primary, to speak to the report. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, could I just stop you? We have a hand up. Julia Marsh, Councillor Marsh.
Many thanks, Chair. I thought we were finished with the education items. So I was just going to ask if I could add for item 7, my declaration of interest, to add Lanark Men's Shed to that.
Okay, so that's fine. You've got a note of that, Carol. Yeah. So if Maureen, if you would like to start, thanks.
Thank you. So I'm here to give a progress update since the last time I was at the Area Committee. Following the consultation and voting process, as reported at a previous committee, schools have progressed with their spend to ensure the minimum 5% is spent in full by the end of March 2024. So I'm here today to share Lanark Primary's participatory budgeting work, which was as Appendix 1 in your pack, as an example of very good practice within the Clydesdale area. This case study illustrates the school's PB journey for 2023 to 24. Lanark Primary ensured the people who should be helped through the Pupil Equity Fund were the people whose views were gathered first, i.e. families who were living in SIMD 1 or 2 and or entitled to free school meals. Identified families were contacted directly through phone calls, and identified pupils were met with at school to gather their ideas and opinions. These conversations garnered 12 ideas, which were then brought to the PB group, who reduced the 12 ideas down to a more manageable 4, which would then go out to all stakeholders for a vote. See Appendix 2 for a full list of suggestions given to the school from pupils and their families. This session, an impressive 77% of parents, which was 153 people, voted as part of the process, thanks in part to the school using the opportunity of a parental consultation evening, along with a Google Form QR code. The school ensured almost all pupils voted by making this part of the school day on the 13th of October 2023. On that day, 100% of the pupils present voted, a total of 232 pupils. 100% of school staff also cast their vote. Expected outcomes from the projects chosen were the continuation of zero-cost trips and the increase of participation in extracurricular clubs. At the time of writing, the school has maintained zero-cost trips, and while there is still a full term left to gather results on club participation, a real success story is that they have had 100% of primary sevens, which were one of their focus groups, attend at least 2 clubs so far. It's very clear from the amount of work Lanark Primary have put into the PB process that they see the value in it for their families and pupils. Families have also engaged well in the process and seem to appreciate the opportunity to be more involved in what happens in the school. So from the council point of view, the next steps are PB is now fully embedded in SLC schools through the People Equity Funding, and schools will continue to allocate a minimum of 5% of their pupil equity funding to be subject to PB year on year. Optional PB training is planned for August again for schools who have a new PB lead or who need a refresh. And following those votes, Education Resources will provide Area Committee with a summary report of each school's PB outcome and local authority and area analysis report of this. Case studies of school activity which has had particular impact or success will be ongoing throughout the year. Education Resources will continue to support schools with the implementation of this and monitor and track the impact of this activity. Findings will inform any future PB activity within Education Resources. Regular PB updates and the highlighting of good practice will be communicated to schools via the Equity Hub and through our @SLC Equity Twitter handle. And I've brought Farah Crook along today to answer any questions that you might have about Lanark's work on PB. Thank you.
Okay, so Farah's not speaking as such, she's answering the questions. So do we have any questions from any of the members or comments that they want to make? Councillor Hamilton.
So sorry for coming in again, but it was just to say that this is a really good example of what the education department are looking to do, and through cost of the school, reducing the cost of the school day. So it's really positive and a really good outcome. After a few weeks ago, we had a cost of the school day conference, which was we've launched the cost of the school day guidelines, which just puts this stuff into writing basically. But well done, Lanark Primary. It looks really good, and that's really positive outcomes and a really good way to use PEF. So I hope it'll be getting used as an example throughout the authority to encourage other schools to do the same thing. But thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. Do we have any other hands up at all? Yes. Anybody? I'd like to personally thank you as well as a ward councillor. Sorry, I'm not seeing you on the screen. Sorry, we've got Councillor Logan. We'll go her.
Thanks very much, and I think it's a very good way to go forward to try and include everybody into the scheme, because on occasions you find that there's people who are desperate to speak or do something, but they stay back, and more forceful of the school community will always, maybe push and go forward. And I saw firsthand Killock High School, the excellent way that they went about, trying to get everybody involved, and that was, so I'm very pleased about that. Now, just the question I would like to ask: on a piece of paper, something looks maybe very good, and then maybe try and implement it. Are we still open to accepting, well, maybe that wasn't the success that we thought that might be? I know, just to drag on for the sake that that's what people chose and that's what we're going to do. So have you got a good approach to evaluating and looking at it and checking? And I was looking at the fruit, and I remember years ago, and a long time ago, there was free fruit and water, I think it was, in schools, and the fruit was ruined. Just people take a bite and throw it away and whatever, and it was came back. It really was a waste of money. And I have nothing against fruit in schools, as long as people are eating the fruit and no what happened then about and thrown away. So that's not the one I'm just talking about in general. Have you got a good evaluation process that you could tell us that if something's working really great, fine. If it's no, we need to re-look at that, because sometimes that's the things we're not good at. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor, and thanks for a chance to speak this afternoon. I think part of the process is looking at the suggestions in the first place and looking to see if there are areas where we can support it in another way. And I think by doing that, for example, we buy in weekly some extra fruit for those who may not have a snack, but we don't necessarily need to use the PB budget to do that. So that's the first way that we can sort of reduce some of those ideas. We work really closely with our parent council, but they themselves attest that they're maybe not always the parents that are in that circumstance. So they're really, really supportive of us looking at that whole school approach and trying to get that information gathered as much as possible. And of course, our ongoing evaluation processes are always there to work out what's working well, what could we do better, and where do we go next with things. We have had the maintaining the zero cost school trips on for a number of sessions, and those are really, really appreciated. As we know at the moment, there's a bit of hidden poverty as well, and those that we maybe wouldn't necessarily know about. So that always tends to come up really, really high in terms of the percentage. So being able to maintain that is actually an evaluative way of being able to say that this is working, and it's something that continually the whole school community are voting for, including children who are now much more aware of the financial pressures that their parents may be under as well, so are often choosing that as an option. But you can see some of those things there, like some of the resources for clubs, some of the PE resources. We've used other funding streams to be able to support that. So hopefully we've got a good balance of what's working, how we can maintain that, and then other areas that we can improve on in different ways as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Farah. Thanks for your response. And I think Eileen stole my thunder. Late? Well, she wasn't late. I didn't see you. But thank you once again, and I like the way you've consulted with the people. I think that was excellent, and how you've done that and the results you got through your consultation. Good effort. Thank you very much. And thanks for your time today, and if you wish to leave, feel free. Thank you very much. So, no hands, no. Clydesdale Way, pages 19 to 26. I invite Judith Gibb, Change and Development Advisor, to speak to the report. Thanks.
Hi there. It was just to give you an update on the Clydesdale Way project. South Lanarkshire Council have worked in partnership with Borders, Scottish Borders Council and Dumfries and Galloway councils to develop the joint project. It was submitted as round 2 of the Levelling Up Fund, targeting Dumfriesshire, Clydesdale and Tweeddale constituency. The bid was a joint bid called Three Rivers Active Tourism. One bid was submitted from each of the 3 councils. Our bid focused on a rural pathway and a cycling network through the Clydesdale area, which as part of the exercise we entitled it Clydesdale Way, and it was set up to reduce the gaps in the regional network as well. Yeah, thanks. I'm just going to show you the plan that you've got in your pack. So the kind of turquoisey blue line at the top is the end of Falls of Clyde. So basically the route is going from the end of Falls of Clyde, travelling right down to Southern Upland Way, which is to link in Dumfries and Galloway, and over to John Buchan Way in Scottish Borders. So it's basically travelling down to Hindford Bridge, round by Carmichael, through Thankerton, over to Biggar, and then on to John Buchan Way, or else from Biggar over to Cooter, Lamington, up to Abington, then up to Elvenfoot and Lead Hills, and then on to Southern Upland Way. The exact route isn't completely determined yet. We've been trying to map it, so that'll follow on. We've done a detailed route plan through a commission with Ironside Farrer, who were commissioned in 2022. They produced some plans. This was submitted as part of the LUF bid. The Clydesdale Way will promote various benefits, including creating connected all-user paths between the settlements, addressing major strategic regional gaps and connecting long distance paths, and obviously connecting the World Heritage sites within there as well. The other local authorities focused on the refurbishment of key heritage assets. So the Scottish Borders one was Chambers Institute in Peebles, which was converting an A-listed council building into a museum, and also Annan Harbour in Dumfries and Galloway, refurbishing the Colette's building within there as well. The Three Rivers Active Tourism Project was coordinated by Stantec and was submitted to LUF in July 2022. And the outline business case and concept design was developed by Ironside Farrar, was submitted as part of the bid. I'll transfer you over to Pauline, who's going to give you a bit of a background on the funding for it.
Thanks, Judith. Afternoon, everyone. So the original bid, as Judith has said, was submitted in the summer of 2022. And in January of 23, the council was advised that the round 2 bid was unsuccessful. However, on the 20th of November 2023, the UK government subsequently advised the council that the Three Rivers Active Tourism project had been provisionally awarded £22,809,416, with the 3 councils contributing match funding of just over £2.5 million to bring the total project cost to £25,300,000. The LUF grant is broken down across the kind of 3 local authorities, and the proportion of the award that will come to South Lanarkshire is £6,795,000. So that's specifically for the Clydesdale Way, and the balance of the award that's been made or has been provisionally made will go to the other 2 local authorities, as Judith has set out. So the total project cost for Clydesdale Way is £7,550,000, and the council has identified £755,000 in match funding as required by LUF. So far, we have been through the UK government's validation process, and the formal offer of grant, when this paper was written, was anticipated in April. However, we have not received it yet. However, it is expected imminently. On the basis of the provisional award of grant, we have prepared and begun the kind of procurement process. So the procurement for Clydesdale Way was issued on the 13th of March 2024, with a closing date on the 19th of April via a mini competition from the Scotland Excel Engineering and Technical Consultancy Framework Lot 9. So our intention is to appoint a kind of turnkey solution, a project management-led multidisciplinary team who will facilitate the delivery of the project on the ground. The work that's been commissioned includes reviewing and commenting on the stage 2 information, so the pack that we prepared in the summer of 22 for the original submission, the management and development of all the work plan stages, and the preparation of the tender documentation and facilitating that tender process as well. And a key role for the consultants will also be the management of the ongoing negotiations with landowners, securing agreements, and consultation with stakeholders. The LUF criteria as it currently stands, so it's a UK government fund, and the current guidance is that all LUF funding should be spent by March 2026. That may or may not change, but that's the guidance that's there at the moment, and we can push the SLC match out beyond that. So we're going to spend the LUF funding first, and then we'll spend the SLC funding after that. So we've currently got a anticipated programme end date of September 26. Hand you back to Judith.
Thanks, Pauline. It was just to say as well, on the conclusion of the tender exercise, the appointed consultant will give us a detailed programme, which we will work with them to deliver. The next steps are to conclude the assessment of the bids, which we're currently doing just now, to appoint a consultant. We have set up an internal project team, as this project goes across quite a few different services within the council: the external funding team, countryside and green space, legal, planning, estates, roads, and we continue to meet on a regular basis to progress the project. We've set up project meetings with Dumfries and Galloway, who are the project lead. They were the lead applicant for the Luff bid. So we have online meetings with them monthly to coordinate the project. Once the Luff bid is confirmed, obviously we'll coordinate a joint communication to go in the press as well. We have appointed Burness Paul as the council's to carry out the council's legal work. And this project also involves estates and planning. I'll not go into the detail of each of these processes, but we have carried out various bits of consultation for the project. All of this was a wee bit of time ago now in relation to the Luff bid that was submitted, but we carried out online consultation sessions with representatives of the community councils in the Clydesdale area, and that also involved the open access forum. We carried these out in conjunction with Ironside Ferrar, and we discussed the routes with the community council members. We lettered all of the potential landowners on some of the proposed routes around that time as well, and we also secured some letters of support from Sustrans, Healthy Valleys, Visit Lanarkshire, Visit Scotland, and the Access Forum. I think that's everything.
Thanks, Judith.
I actually have a few slides on to show the scenery, if that's okay. Sorry. I'm sure you've all seen them before, but it was just to show you how the scenery along the route. That's obviously just the end of the Falls of Clyde. That's where this route will commence at the end of the current Clyde walkway. That's just some shots along the banks of the River Clyde. Obviously, Tinto's quite commanding in the background of most of these shots. I think that one's nearer Symington, that one. This is up and over the hills between Crawford and Lamington. That's on one of the windmill routes. And that is at Wandle. There's an old bridge underneath the A702. That is underneath that bridge is potentially part of the route as well. I think so. The word more. I think that.
Okay, thanks, Judith and Pauline, for your presentation. I'm presuming that at some stage this will come back to the Community and Enterprise Resource Committee for maybe an update on where we are with it. And perhaps it could come back to the Area Committee as well at some stage, so that we have a wee update on where we are with it as well. Does any members have any questions or comments they wish to make? Ian, Councillor McCallum. You're on mute, I think, Ian, sorry.
There's no question, Chair. Just to thank, on my behalf, thank the team for their hard work with this. This is clearly complex and the whole series of consultations involved, but it's good progress. So thank you so much from my perspective.
Thank you, Councillor McCallum. Don't see anybody else with their hands up. Oh, Ralph, sorry.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Judith, for that. That report. Drawing lines on maps is the easiest bit, I'm quite sure. I imagine actually realising the funds. And people say, oh, all these millions of pounds. I imagine it has to be hard fought. I wondered how difficult the legal side was. I mean, going to affect a lot of landowners, and I know you can't say too much, but I imagine that's a challenge. Just from my point of view, if you don't mind, what I really found was that walking over the hills is relatively easy. Not the walking, but the gaining access is relatively easy. And wherever we can, the difficult bit is following the Clyde, both topography and landowners. And I'd love to see that concentrated on. I see that, you probably know this quite well. First of all, there's the code, quiet road. You know these roads well. They may be quiet, but some people drive very, very fast on them as well. Any way we can get off the road, so much the better.
There are areas where it is on C-class roads. We've been working quite closely with the roads department in relation to signage and any markings that we can put up in some of these areas.
All right, I wish you well with that.
Yeah.
And there's just one bit particular interest. Now, Brown new surfaced. This means it'll be a new stretch of path, I take it, when it says new surfaced. And just have that bit at near Wolf Clyde, between Symington and Biggar. Where, as far as I know, this is just the usual bee in my bonnet, where I think we've just consented house building on that route. Maybe not, but let's have as much advance warning of where these routes could be obstructed by new building.
This was based on the exercise that was carried out in 2022. So when the consultants appointed, they will relook at the routes again with us and discuss potential options to make sure there's a continuous route.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Eileen, Councillor Logan.
This is just a quick question. If I've missed it, I'm sorry, but what is the sort of total mileage that this would all compass for sort of you start till you finish, or do you know?
You like an easy question, don't you, Eileen?
I thought it was actually. I was reading it.
It's written in funding applications, and I can't remember what the figure is.
That's all right. You can
we'll
get
back to you
next time you come. Or just curious if I've ever was thinking.
I mean, it is likely to change as a result.
It's just rough. In case I ever get my hiking boots on and decided I was going to go and do it. Thanks.
Thanks very much for all your questions, and thanks very much for your presentation. And it's really pleasing to see that amount of money coming into our area, and it'll be nice to have those walks in the future and cycle lanes or whatever else we managed to do at the time.
We do hope to do a wee bit of infrastructure development along the way, but obviously that will be as a result of consultation as well.
Okay, and I noticed that you didn't mention New Lanark. Are they part of your partnership as well? Considering that's with the Clyde.
We haven't engaged with New Lanark as yet, but we will do going forward.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks. Well, thank you both, and you're free to leave if you want. Thank you very much. And we're going to move on to the Lanark Racecourse Master Plan and wider racecourse update, pages 27 to 42. I'll invite John Archibald, the Project Development Officer, to speak to the report. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for this opportunity. As the Chair said, I'm John Archibald from the Enterprise and Sustainable Development Services, and I'm here to give this report today. Reports for information. It was previously approved at the February Community and Enterprise Resources Committee. In 1.1, the purpose of the report is to inform the committee of the work undertaken to prepare the Racecourse Master Plan, to outline proposals to publicise the Master Plan document, and inform the committee of the next steps in implementing the Master Plan, and informing progress to deliver the Lanark Community Workshop. In 3.1, we explain the background to the racecourse. Anyone from Clydesdale will know the general background. It used to be a racecourse, secrets in the name. It's part of Lanark's common good, which is very important, and we should all respect that. In legal terms, it's known as heritable and movable property. It's owned by the council and importantly managed for the benefit of the citizens of the former borough. And very important to note that any due to the relevant legislation will require the community to be formally consulted prior to the delivery of any project which will involve a property transaction. In 3.3, we confirm that the Lanark Common Good currently supports the Common Good estate through the revenues that it attracts. The balance at the account when we wrote this report was £250,000. Please do not get too excited, because you should also note that much of the Common Good is very old infrastructure and is very expensive to maintain and does require to be maintained. The use of the fund to support any new investment that's highlighted in this report and other reports will therefore require to be considered in the context of the overall Common Good estate and its investment requirements. It is an intention therefore that external funding will lead the delivery of investment at the racecourse and not Common Good funds. In 3.5, we explain that the preparation of the master plan, the purpose of the preparation of the master plan was to explore opportunities to seek to maximise the potential of the site. At item 4 in the document, Lanark Racecourse Master Plan and the process, we outlined the parties involved. I myself found that really important that we engaged with the local community, and we did that wholeheartedly, jumped in with both feet, and we had a fantastic consultation exercise over 3 different periods. We also engaged with other relevant departments of the council, and importantly Historic Environment Scotland and Nature Scot, who both have interests at the site due to its nature. As I outlined, just alluded to just earlier, we had 3 online visitor surveys and we had 3 stakeholder workshops, and these also involved all council departments, so there's a lot of detail pulled together. And the initial consultation exercise identified the key strengths and weaknesses of the site, which then allowed the team to focus on how they could be enhanced or improved. I've gone then to list core strengths and weaknesses. Strengths, for example, include the natural environment, proximity to the loch. Weaknesses, lack of investment in the past and a very poor path network. Through the second and third consultation exercises, we managed to make recommendations for actions investment that focus on the buildings and the site's quality, distinctiveness and appeal. And we're going to list things that potentially could be done. Invest in the heritage, protect some of the ancient woodland, or protect all of the ancient woodland, I apologise. Enhance the biodiversity, create trails, routes and signage, make it better connected to other local public assets. In 4.6, we outlined that the action plan summary forms part of the master plan. There's a list of 26 actions associated with associated timescales and potential partners and leads. That's in Appendix 1. A very important part of the overall master plan document. The action plan will remain a live document and will be updated as time goes on when things are delivered or change in priorities from partners. The master plan is intended to support the development and delivery of projects moving forward and assist in securing funding to deliver projects by a range of partners and not necessarily the council. The council's role will be the predominant role going forward will be the facility managers of the site and not direct involvement in the delivery of the projects. We hope the adopted master plan is a basis to move forward with some of these specific projects, including funding and delivery, and we'll identify lead partners. We'll identify lead partners, and in the future, further updates will be brought to committee for approval on the future investment. At 5.1, at 5 and 5.1, we outline that the document will be published and made available to all parties with an interest in the site to guide future investment and management. we've identified the library as a potential location, the well-used toll booth building in Lanark, and the council offices in Lanark. So there'll be documents posted in these locations, and if any group wants to access them, they can go there, or any individual with a specific interest. There are two other items that are associated with the racecourse, but not specifically the racecourse master plan, I wanted to bring to your attention. First one was at 5.3, when the master plan was commissioned. The site of the Equestrian Centre buildings was explicitly omitted due to the ongoing lease negotiations. Subsequent to that, the current tenant has now been given notice to quit, and the council will have vacant possession of the site and associated grazings as of July 2025. It's proposed that the window of opportunity July 2025 is taken to test the market and seek a new tenant for the buildings. The first stage will be the appointment of an appropriate property consultant to market test the viability of the facility as an equestrian centre or for an alternate use, releasing the grazing land to support the delivery of the master plan. Another item I wanted to bring to your attention, and quite relevant in terms of timescale and a bit exciting, is an update on the Lanark Racecourse Community Shed project. Back in 2016, the council was awarded 807,000 from the Scottish Government's Regen Cap Fund to take forward a new community and business space project with associated community workshop. Since that time, there's been a lot of work put in to try and deliver that project, and since autumn 2022, we looked at a new site at the racecourse to take forward this dual building development. During the design and costing process, it became clear that it was impossible to deliver the two buildings with the available money being £807,000. The only one that could be delivered with the available money was the community shed. We have subsequently taken that forward, and quite excitingly, in the next few days, the contractor will be on site and that shed will start. And we hope to have that complete by the end of the summer. Unfortunately, not by Lanarmers, as the Lanarmer Committee would love, but it will be complete this summer for use thereafter. So going back to the start of the report and the recommendations, that the committee is asked to note that the Lanark Racecourse Plan is a guiding document for the future management and investment of the racecourse. That the Lanark Racecourse Master Plan will be published and made available to all parties with an interest, and also to note the progress being made to deliver the Lanark Community Shed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, John. Duly noted. Have we got any questions or comments from any of the councillors? I just had a couple of things. I'm just wondering how you're going to engage with the local community groups for them to take it forward, and there's some really good ideas there. But how are we going to? Are you going to personally engage with, like, so the development trust or whatever, to do sort of the picnic areas and that kind of thing, and the uniform groups to do what's in there for uniform groups? Thanks.
We haven't scoped that out as yet, Chair, to be perfectly honest, but I was intending to engage with the Development Trust and the Community Council and show them a copy of the actual physical document to try and encourage them to get involved. Don't want to name any specific organisation, but we know some are really active in the town, and I think there are some really lovely small projects there, like outdoor gym equipment and picnic benches and things like that, with some external funding, which I know where that could come from already. I'm quite sure these groups could deliver. So yes, I would like to encourage groups to get involved and deliver bits of it.
Thanks, John. I would just encourage you to reach out to the groups, the groups who would be able to deliver these projects, and if you tell them you can identify the funding, it will be a win-win for everybody. So I'm sure you'll do that, John. Anybody else got any questions? Oh, Ralph, thanks. Councillor Barker.
Right, thanks, Chair. You may know more about this than I do anyway, but I had been asked prior to this meeting. through the a few decades now, the equestrian centre hasn't always had a particularly smooth ride with everybody. Is it the case that there might not be a future for an equestrian centre, in the master plan? Is that a possibility?
The intention of the intention of the master plan is not to exclude the equestrian centre. When we did the master plan, indeed the equestrian centre lease was still live, so the master plan worked round about the equestrian centre and the land that it uses. As we've said in the report, the lease now comes to an end just over a year's time. We want to look to see if there is someone out there, an organisation out there that might want to take it over as an equestrian related facility. But we're also interested to see if there's some other use that could be made of all the assets or most of the assets that's a non-equestrian use. But we're not in any way prioritising one or the other.
Councillor Logan.
Sorry, I might be picking this up wrong, and again, apologies. If this is a master plan, is this sort of like a stage one master plan? If you start with a master plan that's not completely finalised, because maybe I'm picking you up wrong, but to me it's a bit contrary to be saying on one hand, well, we might have equestrian stuff, but then we might not have equestrian stuff, and then we might be doing this or whatever. Now, I would think that given that it was a former racecourse, that equestrian horses or whatever would be sort of a given, for want of a better word, that people go there with horses and land, whatever it happens to be. And is it maybe that the lease as it is at the minute, it should be looked at, if it's due for next year, to encompass a bit better the inclusion of other people and various things, because you do get reports back and forward where at the minute people are sort of encouraged sometimes to come into the ground, etc. I have to say, on the 1st of May 1988, I became a councillor, 44 years today, and one of the first jobs I ever got was to sit in a committee that was looking at a master plan for Lanark Racecourse and Lanark Loch and all the rest of it. So it's taken a long time, and if we could get it off the ground this time, that would be absolutely first class. But so is it? It's no concrete. It's no set in concrete as we speak. If what I'm listening to is what you're saying, John, and is there ways to sort of circumvent maybe people legally challenging you or doing all sorts of things?
The first thing I would say is, I think it's my micro. First thing I would say is that I'm obviously not in the Estates Department, and anything to do with the lease, I'm not afraid to the details of the lease. I'm just aware that notice to quit has been given, and the current tenant has to leave the premises next summer. The master plan, specific, we did a lot of work on the master plan, and the master plan is on all the land round about excluding the equestrian centre area. Predominantly the equestrian centre is the buildings and a couple of paddocks associated. There are some fields in the middle as well, but the main bit of the equestrian centre is the buildings next to the car park at the roadside. So it didn't really have much of, not including it in the master plan exercise didn't affect the master plan exercise, because the master plan was looking at all the open space, and the stage one of that master plan consultation, it was very clear the feedback from the 500-600 people that we spoke to. They wanted it to pretty much stay the same and feel the same, and they wanted it to be an extensive piece of land and extensively used, not intensively used. So the presence or the non-presence of the racecourse equestrian use didn't really impact in the next stages, because the first stage of the process, it took us to a point where the community made it very clear they wanted rural, big open spaces, some additional features on them. So it all works quite complementary, and it worked. It was very sensibly done, methodically done, and we got to a conclusion that I'm quite comfortable with, and everyone involved is very comfortable with.
Thanks, John. And I know you did really well with your consultation exercise, and you've just said 700. That's quite a lot, actually. So you did really well. But in the Tollbooth, it's an excellent place to have your consultation, as you know. So yeah, John.
I was just going to say, Tollbooth's a fantastic facility, and anyone doing anything in the rural area that involves landlocked, I'd encourage them to use it, because it really is at the heart of the community, and it encourages people to come along. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks. Councillor Marsh.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I do welcome this report, and I know it has been a long time and a lot of work in its production. I would just highlight the fact that the master plan should also take cognizance of the active travel network strategy maps, and also the nearby properties and assets in the travel routes into the town centre. And I realise that you can't include absolutely everything in a document that's notably concise and easy to read, but I would highlight the intended path between Lanark Moor and the Lanark Cemetery, the Springbank Cemetery, which I think is already highlighted on the active travel network, but not currently in place.
I'm very pleased to answer your question because it's a positive answer. On the master plan map, which wasn't in the document, the route that you have mentioned that goes to the new cemetery is included as one of the desired projects. So we have replicated that and taken that from the other pieces of work on active travel. So anyone that's interested in taking that forward, whether it's ourselves or a community organisation, they should all be aware that there is a desire to do that. Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Julian, and your answer, John. So I'm presuming that you're saying there that the council may take that its active travel, so that we do get funding. So I'm presuming that that's going to be something that will go ahead, because it is something that I'm asked about as well on a regular basis.
All I can say is certainly on the roads and transportation's list of active travel projects. I couldn't comment on how near the top or the bottom it is, but it is on the list of things that they'd like to deliver.
Nothing to be pushed for us, and we'll do any harm. Thank you very much, and thanks for your report. I don't see any other hands, so you're welcome to leave, John, if you wish. Thank you very much. So we can move on to item 7, Can Do Community Challenge Fund applications, pages 43 to 50. Invite Jen Kerr, Community Engagement Manager, to speak to this report. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Chair. Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Kerr, the Community Engagement Manager, excuse me, in the Chief Executive's office. This report refers to the Can Do Community Challenge Fund. This fund is a one-off, one-year investment fund that was approved by South Lanarkshire Council in 22-23 budget. The fund was to provide investment and support for community groups that did not have access to the similar amount of money provided for participatory budgeting in the same budget year. So the Can Do Community Fund was opened up to organizations with eligibility for non-participatory budgeting areas, and this included community councils. They were offered the opportunity between August and January 31st to apply for grants of up to £10,000 to very specifically tackle identified issues in their area that had been engaged on and provided evidence of community need and renew projects to get started with. The fund had a £200,000 limit for the whole of South Lanarkshire, and we closed the applications on the 31st of January, and scoring of each application was scored against a matrix that's available to you in Appendix 3 by a team of 3 community development specialists that understand the area and the community organisations that are involved, and by myself as one of the members who understands the funding panel and the criteria, and was kind of the independent member of the group. So we present to you Appendix 1, which is the applications which scored highly, and we are recommending for approval, and the list of declined applications in Appendix 2 that did not score highly as highly against the criteria, and we're therefore recommending for decline. We would note that support has been offered or will be offered to provide alternative routes for more appropriate funds to match the other organisations that weren't successful. Because while they're great projects and great pieces of work, they just weren't appropriate for this particular fund. Overall, the funding available was £200,000, and Clydesdale, I would note, is receiving about 48% of the fund across all of the 4 localities, and that's quite a good output for the area. I provided as well in the list of applications just a bit of information, so I'll close down and take questions.
Okay, thank you, Jane. Now, at this point, we've got some declarations of interest, but I'm thinking we'll do it one by one, Carol, and if there's any is there any questions on the generality of the report that Jane's just given us? Is there anybody got any questions on that? And then we'll go through each one sort of individually, and the people who have declared an interest will leave at the relevant points.
So, Chair, I'm not sure if it's generality or not. Just explain again. The can do is for groups which don't have access to other. I mean, it's just that looking at the list, there look to be groups there, and good for them, that you would think would have access. And I just couldn't quite understand that. I don't really want to name them, but I mean, there seem to be some that are pretty close to wind turbines, for example. I just wonder if you could just clear that up for me. Thanks.
Great, thanks. So it's access to participatory budgeting funds. So in the same financial year, the council allocated £200,000 for priority areas where we do neighbourhood planning. Those are areas in high levels of deprivation. There aren't any of those areas in Clydesdale, which is why quite a lot of this funding has been apportioned to the Clydesdale area. So other areas in Hamilton and Fernhill and Burnhill and Birkinshaw, Strotherhill, is that I've got that right? Have had access to participatory budgeting approaches to similar amounts of funding. So to ensure that a fairness of funding, the same type. So that's the only it's just that particular participatory budgeting fund. But yes, absolutely. In some of these applications, this funding is being used as match funding for where there's wind farm funding and other sources available. And like I said, there are other types of funding that's out there that suits some of the applications we received that just weren't really eligible for this particular one.
Thanks, Jen, and if you're happy with that. So, Cal, over to you to get us all in and out wherever we need to be in and out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So both yourself and Councillor Mars have declared an interest in the 4th and District Development Trust and Clydesdale Community Initiatives. So if you both leave the meeting, we will deal with those 2 applications first of all. Again, Councillor Mars has already left the meeting. So 4th and District Development Trust, amount requested is £10,000. Purpose of the grant is Community Connect volunteer drivers, and the proposed award is £10,000. Is everyone okay with that one?
Okay, thank you, Carol. Would anyone else like to say anything to that? Is it about this particular one? Yeah, if it's about this one.
Yes, it is. If this is just for when you were appraising and I know it was scored 2010 or whatever it was, if something like this is in, and this is a good idea because it's obviously in a area which is a remote area, but if a group then starts up Community Connect volunteer drivers, and then after a year there's no more money, is there something to be statement? It wouldn't be the council, but is there ongoing sort of help to ensure that they might need to look for something else to bring more money in? Because it'd be totally unfair, and I'm not just talking about this one, I'm talking about in a general sense. I've no bother about it, but in a general sense, if you set something up and then everybody's, in the way of using it or whatever they're going to do, and then all of a sudden we say, no, we can't do that anymore. So what would be the natural progress of, not particularly this, but something like this? How are we going to speak to people in a way? I'm absolutely sure that everybody that's here does know it's a one-off payment they're getting.
Yes, thanks.
So yes, every award letter. Every award letter would be very clear. It's one off, but we would also support. We have community engagement staff that work in the area and work closely with these groups. And actually, you might remember last summer when I was here talking about the community partnerships. They're working in partnership with the council and other partners on a sort of community transport joined upness around Clydesdale. So this would be one of the projects that would kind of contribute to that. And I think in its first year, it would have to see demand, work out how much it actually costs to run. It's all going to be volunteers for the most part. They're thinking maybe they might need to use some taxis where they can't get a volunteer here or there. So it's just trying to understand the need in their very small communities and then how that would link to the bigger picture. So it may be that this project's then picked up by a bigger organisation that does provide for bigger funds, or they work together. But we see this as an opportunity for a couple smaller communities to kind of understand their own need and who's needing access to and to where they need to go as well, medical appointments and social stuff. So no, we would we'd still be involved in working to develop the community transport work with all of the partners in Clydesdale Community Partnership.
Okay, thank you. I think if no one else is minded, we're happy to approve those two grants for the 4th and District Development Trust and the Clydesdale Community Initiatives. Okay.
Yeah.
And if we can let the two councillors, Councillor Clymer and Councillor Julia Mars, back in. Okay.
So just Councillor McClimate coming back at the moment.
Right, thank you.
No, she's still got too long to. Okay, so Councillor McClimate has now rejoined the meeting. If we can now deal with the grant for Healthy Valleys and Lanark Men's Shed. So the Healthy Valleys application amount requested £9,990 for Smile on Community Engagement. Same amount is recommended as the award. And Lanark Men's Shed. All right, sorry, Lanark Men's Shed is an unsuccessful application. So maybe if anybody has any comments, observations on that, if we deal with that at the moment as well. So are we okay with the Healthy Valleys?
Agreed.
Good, seconded.
Okay, and are there any comments, observations on Lanark Men's Shed?
Would it be worth giving a small explanation as to why they didn't get it? Thank you.
The Men's Shed?
Yeah.
Okay, the Men's Shed asked for funds to fund some of the cost of their expansion into a new building. It didn't meet some of the criteria around sustainability, but also new project and community need. It's an existing service, so the grant criteria was for new pieces of work, not growing the existing ones, and that's the main reason why it scored lowly on sustainability and additionality.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, Carol, what's happening now is Julia coming
We
back
need
in.
to get Councillor Mars back in.
Okay. There you are. That was
Okay,
Julia.
Councillor Mars is back.
Thank you. On you go, Carol.
Okay, so that leaves us with the remaining applications, which is Colburn Miners Welfare, amount requested £10,000 for a village green lighting project, award amount £10,000. Braidwood Community Group, £9,475,000 and 20 pence, for a play park zip slide improvements. Also to note, payment to the procuring body working with Braidwood Community Group, same amount as proposed for the award. Carluke Community Connections, proposed award £8,500, and that is for a community fun day, and amount awarded is the same. Lismahago Development Trust, proposed award, amount requested £10,000. That is for a community open programme events. amount awarded again £10,000. Elgical Community Hub, amount requested £10,000, and that is to reopen the community hall in Biggar as a stepping stone to a community asset transfer. Amount awarded £10,000. Blackwood and Kirkmere Hill Resilience Group, amount requested £9,984 for a youth development project, and again the same amount as proposed as the award. Lead Hills Golf Club, amount requested £10,000 for clubhouse improvements to assist community use, and again the £10,000 as proposed as the award.
Thanks, Carol. Do any members have any questions or want any explanations? I've got Eileen. Thank you. Councillor Logan.
It's okay. 2220 Carluke Community Connections Community Fund Day. I do believe if I was reading that, I remember the public reading that, it looks as if somebody's going to go somewhere and have a day out type of thing up in Moor Park or somewhere. So I would like that expanded, because it's my understanding that there's a greater use for the money, and maybe that's not the best title that this should have had. And it shows that it's public record and we can explain it to people if they think maybe, you know, why are we giving that for a day out kind of thing. Thank you.
Fair question, Eileen. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this program is actually a participation and engagement program, and the Fund Day is the tool that they're bringing people together around. So the group is involving families and young people, and they put on an event last year with some awards for all funding, but the feedback from that and the engagement they did with the rest of the community is it could have been bigger and better with other things, and it needs to be no cost. So a significant part of the cost is actually training for the volunteers themselves to develop and run and deliver an event like that. So health and safety, food safety, all those types of things. Also insurance and liability. So real practical volunteering skills. There'll also be some follow-up workshops with the volunteers to learn to do evaluation and do more community engagement around the event. And it's just a way to bring people that are interested in participating in the community, but really haven't really done it in any other way other than around this event. It was a really popular engagement tool. So some of the costs are for food for the event. They want it to be free. That was really important. It's a very deprived community of families with low income that they're targeting at. And there's some cost for childcare for the volunteers, but also for when people are at the event, so they can go around and the kids can be supervised. So that is a bit more costly than a normal event. So some of them are for activity costs as well. But generally, the cost of the event is a way to run almost an entire participation and volunteering program around one activity and reproducing that year on year. That helps.
That's helpful, Jen.
Can I say, I mean, your explanation then is excellent, and it covers the whole thing, and it makes it quite clear why they need, you know, the amount of money that's asked and what they're getting. But I would still say that, you know, if I had, well, I did, I read that, so I'm going to do with that for that. So if I'm reading that into that, I think it's important that we get that message out, that it's for all the excellent projects and all the different things that's going to happen, because it's not just one thing. One thing will lead to the next and to the next. And I know it was an excellent day last year and they get good response, and obviously want to keep the people that were interested on board and maybe look for more. So that was the only thing is just, I think that wording's not very, very good. And if we're putting it out into the press, or we're trying to put it into the media, I think we need to enhance that so that people just don't think, oh, it's just a day out kind of thing. Thank you.
Thanks, Eileen. A valid point. Just another wee thing, Jen, on the Errigal Community Hub. I think we discussed this, it's not going to be in Biggar. I presume it's going to be in Errigal. Just to double check that one, thanks.
Do you know, I'm really sorry. I don't work in this area, so I may not be able to answer that. I'll just double check the application form in detail. In speaking to the community workers, I believe it is for the hub itself is organized as a concept and as an organization in Errigal, but it is a hall in Biggar that they will wish to retake reopen.
May I say, Chair?
Yeah.
I think it's just that is, the postal address is in Biggar.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, that's fair enough, but I wouldn't like to think that MD thought that we were giving Errigal Community Hub money to open up a hall in Biggar.
Okay,
So I think that needs to be explained. And we did discuss this earlier.
Can I just double check that, because it isn't clear, it isn't quite clear. We did check it with the community worker, so if I can I'll come back with that if that's okay.
I don't think the people in Biggar would be very happy.
No, I
Especially
agree.
if people are going to take over their hall.
I
Well,
agree.
maybe, you never know. There's another couple that we haven't discussed either, was the First Law Boys Brigade and Charlie's Old Codgers, which were unsuccessful. Perhaps you should maybe just go through why they were unsuccessful as well, thanks.
Sure, thank you, Chair. So both applications had similar reasons for lower scores, mainly because they only engaged with their membership and the people that already use their services. So they weren't able to demonstrate a wider community need, and they weren't in case of the Boys Brigade, it wasn't really open to others. So the quote was just for the members that were there at the time. So, and again, it was an annual camp, a continuation of service, and something that wouldn't have been sustainable in year on year on year. So, so we just felt it didn't really quite fit the spirit of the and the criteria of the fund. And Charlie's Old Codgers was similar in it wasn't for any new services. It was for extending existing ones and paying for volunteer costs, which, while admirable and it's a great project, it just didn't quite fit the parameters of this fund for new and for additionality. So like I said, we'll get back in touch with them, put them in touch around the health and wellbeing funds and other places that are probably more suitable for them to be successful.
Thanks, Jen. So are we going to agree everything else? I don't see any other hands, so we'll agree everything apart from what was agreed previously when I was out. Is that agreed? Seconded?
Seconded.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to thank you, Jen and Tom, for being here today. If you wish to leave, feel free. And we'll go on to the community grant applications, pages 51 to 56. I think we've got declarations of interest in this one as well. So Carol, if you want to take us through that, thanks.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a regular community grants report. So within this report, we are looking for approval for the allocation of 5 community grants from the Clydesdale Area Committee 2024-25 budget. We are also advising on community grant applications which met the relevant criteria which have been approved by the Executive Director of Finance and Corporate Resources in consultation with the Chair and Deputy Chair in the period from the last Area Committee on the 14th of February to the end of the financial year on the 31st of March 2024. Those applications are detailed in Appendix 1 to the report. I don't know if we maybe just want to agree to note those first of all. We did obviously have yourself, Chair, declared an interest in one of the grants for Cargill House Club, and that application was approved by Councillor Gowland as Deputy Chair.
I don't suppose I can agree this then. So
I think if both of you,
both of us,
yourself and Councillor Gowland.
right, okay then. So I'll agree Appendix 1 of the report, and then we'll move on to the actual, I need a seconder, sorry.
Okay, that's seconded, agreed.
So then we can move on to the other grants, and I believe there's a declaration on number 1 of A.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so we have a declaration of interest from Councillor Marsh and the application for Bank Homing and Sporting Club and also Lanark District U3A. So if we can ask Councillor Marsh to leave the meeting. Okay, I can see that Councillor Marsh has now left the meeting. So if we could deal with application A, which is Kirkfield Bank Homing and Sporting Club. The purpose of the grant is for equipment administration and publicity costs. They applied for £250 and the recommendation is £250.
Don't see any hands, so I'll agree that amount of money. Thanks.
Okay, seconded.
Okay, and application D, which is Lanark District U3A. Purpose of grant is an outing. The total eligible grant applied for was £500 and the recommendation is £300, which is the standard for an outing.
Thank you. I don't see any hands, so I'll agree that some money.
Okay, if we can just now invite Councillor Marsh back into, if we can invite Councillor Marsh back into the meeting. Yeah, I think that is Councillor Marsh now back with us. So if you could deal with application B, which is Carstairs Senior Citizens Association. Purpose of the grant is outing, administration and publicity costs. Total eligible grant applied for is £474 and the recommendation is £405.
Don't see any hands up, so I'll agree that amount. Thank you.
Seconded.
Okay. Application C is Law Parish Church Guild. Purpose of grant is an outing. Total eligible applied for is £300 and the recommendation is £300.
And I see no hands, so I'll agree that amount.
Seconded.
Okay, D we've already dealt with. So application E is Elrickle WRI. Purpose of grant is an outing and entrance fees. Total eligible grant applied for is £350 and the recommendation is £350.
Don't see any hands up, so I'll agree that amount.
Seconded.
Okay, and we've already dealt with the delegated authority chair, so that is everything within that report.
So that's item 8 complete. And I have no items of urgent business, so I'd like to thank you all for your, sorry,
Could I
Eileen?
ask this,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt the meeting at the beginning, but see, the minutes of the Clydesdale Area Committee for the 14th of February, and yourself moved them and then Councillor Gowland seconded, but in actual fact, Councillor Gowland that day was absent. So I don't want somebody pulling us up. Now, if it's still all right with Councillor Gowland, that's fine. But if that's incorrect, I think we should publicly fix that out.
Yeah, I think in that case, Chair, if we just can have another member who was present at the meeting to second those.
Right.
I wasn't in the meeting.
Right, sorry, I didn't realise
It's
that.
just I wouldn't like somebody to pull us up.
Well spotted, see, you didn't even tell me you had 40, how many years? 44. 4 today. Congratulations, Eileen, or is it congratulations? Anyway, well spotted, Eileen, and Ralph has seconded the minutes.
I wouldn't
for
like
the
somebody to
record.
pull us up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you, everybody. You're free to leave and do whatever you fancy doing on a Wednesday afternoon.